Some very interesting dynamics are happening right now in the Texas housing market. We're going to talk about what's happening right now in Dallas, Texas, Houston, Austin, and San Antonio. Let's first talk about inventory numbers because this is very, very important to have a look at because the direction of inventory really tells us which direction the housing market overall is headed, especially compared to pre-pandemic levels. So here's an article from ResiClubAnalytics.com. It says here on a national level, I just want to provide some comparison. So at the end of January of 2025, the most recent trends we have from them, the national inventory levels is up by 24.6% compared to January of 24. So year over year, we're up by about 25%. However, compared to January of 2019, we still have approximately 25.3% fewer existing houses for sale. Now, this is very, very important because look at Texas, because in Dallas, Fort Worth, that metro area, inventory is up by 35.7% year over year. Again, the national average is up by only 25%. On top of that, this January, just over 21,422 houses for sale. That's the highest January levels since, keywords here, at least January of 2017. What really caught my attention as well is that at 21,000 houses for sale right now, this is basically quadruple compared to the levels we saw back in January of 2022. I'll share some more trends here in a little bit regarding how these figures compare to 2019, how they fare nationwide. So that's Dallas. Let's have a look at Houston. So Houston is up by 25.9%, more or less in line with the national average, again up by 25%. However, somewhat similar to Dallas, in Houston at 25,879 houses for sale. That's the highest level going all the way back until January of 2019. In contrast, in the San Antonio, Texas market, it's only up by 15.5% year over year compared to the 25% national average. Also at 15.5%, this is basically half the levels we're seeing in Dallas, Texas. Having said that though, at 10,563 houses for sale, that's the highest January levels since at least January of 2017 in San Antonio. For the Austin Round Rock Metro, we're up by 16.4% year over year and around 7,500 houses for sale this January. That's the highest January levels since at least January of 2017. According to Resi Club, many of the softest housing markets where home buyers have gained leverage over home sellers are located in the Gulf Coast and Mountain West regions, especially Denver, for example. These areas were home to many of the nation's top pandemic boomtowns, which experienced significant home price growth during the pandemic housing boom, which stretched housing prices beyond local income levels. So I was saying this all over the place back in 21, right? When home prices were increasing by 20 to 30% from the previous year, and wages did not increase nearly close to that, that is a recipe for disaster and of course not sustainable. So it says once pandemic-fueled migrations has slowed down and mortgage rates have spiked, markets like Punta Gorda, Florida and Austin, Texas face challenges as they had to rely on local incomes to sustain frothy home prices. The housing market softening in these areas was further accelerated by the abundance of new home supply in the pipeline across the Sun Belt. Builders in these regions are often willing to reduce prices or make other affordability adjustments to make sales. So if you guys all know, I'm an agent here based in Sacramento, California, and builders in my area are offering closing cost credits or a 30-year fixed rate that's much lower than the norms that we're seeing. So you could get a 30-year fix at, let's just say 5 to 6% compared to the 7% rates we're seeing more or less today. Let's read on. These adjustments in the new home construction market also create a cooling effect on the resale market. The resale market is existing houses, any other house that's not a brand new home. As some home buyers who might have opted for an existing house shift their focus to new houses where deals are still available. I can say some of these incentives that builders are offering right now are pretty enticing for buyers right now, even though in general you have a smaller lot size. You know, there's some cons, of course, associated with that as well. But the incentives that builders are offering right now are really enticing home buyers in the United States right now. All right, so going back here, let's talk about inventory compared to January of 2019, a very important stat to have a look at because areas in which inventory is higher compared to pre-COVID are actually areas in which home prices are going down or they're softening. In contrast, areas such as the Northeast, where they have a lack of houses for sale, are experiencing home price gains. So for example, Milwaukee, Chicago, Detroit, Hartford, Connecticut are all down by double digits, right? From January 2019 regarding inventory levels. In contrast, look at Denver. Denver is right there, Denver is up by 19.2%. And again, the national average is down by 25%, whereas in Austin, Texas is up by 16%, Punta Gorda, Florida up by a staggering 70%. Let me zoom in here and look at Dallas. So Dallas is up by 12.8% compared to the national average, a decrease down by 25%. In Houston, they're actually down by 0.8%, but not as big as the national decline. In San Antonio, they're up by 33%. By the way, that is the biggest increase since January 2019 amongst all the 50 biggest cities nationwide. Let me repeat that. San Antonio, Texas has the biggest increase in the amount of houses for sale compared to pre-COVID levels when looking at the 50 biggest US cities. That's up by 33% compared to the 25% decrease on national level. In Austin, they're up by 16.2%. Here's another way to look at this. So in Dallas, Fort Worth, around 21,000 houses for sale. Again, the highest level since at least January of 2017 for that same month. Obviously, inventory has seasonality. Inventory kind of tends to peak in the summer months and then is at a low point during the winter months. So right now at 21,422, the highest level since at least January of 2017. In the Houston market, it's not as bad actually, at nearly 26,000, higher compared to the past several years, but actually lower than January of 2019. In contrast, in San Antonio Metro, it's very similar to Dallas, around 10,500 houses for sale. That is way higher compared to the past several years and also higher compared to any other January since at least January of 2017. Now looking at the Austin metro area, this is pretty different compared to about 6 months ago. 6 months ago, inventory was absolutely exploding in Austin, but now the gains are actually losing momentum. As you guys can see right here, back in spring home buying season through summer months, inventory was absolutely exploding in Austin, Texas. Now at 7,500, this is higher compared to any other January here, but the difference between pre-COVID levels in Austin compared to in San Antonio, for example, is not as great. Also, to have a look at this chart, because here is a look at inventory levels for these 4 metros we're talking about. And each of these 4 metros are in the top 10 where they have the biggest gains of inventory compared to January 2019. And again, San Antonio is leading the nation at a 33.1% gain, quite a bit higher compared to the number 2 spot here, Memphis, Tennessee, up by 21.3%. Whereas in Austin, again, we're up by 16.2, Dallas 12.8, and Houston is down by 0.8%. Much, much different compared to the 25% decrease we're seeing nationwide on average. Resi Club also interviewed Toll Brothers CEO, who is Douglas Yearley. And it says here, when it comes to softness and weakness, Yearley pointed to markets like Austin, San Antonio, Phoenix, and most of Florida. He said here, there is still some softness in Austin that is driven by affordability because Austin prices ran through COVID. If you guys weren't a home buyer back during 2020 through early 22 in Austin, Texas, it was virtually impossible to get offers accepted. I know agents in Austin, Texas that had very hard time getting offers accepted because everyone was writing offers for way over asking, waiving all their contingencies. It was a kind of like putting the fire hose on absolutely a challenging market to say the least. Anyways, he goes on to say here, and so there's a bit more affordability pressure there in Austin, Texas, where with the home prices. And then San Antonio, which is a very small market for us, which again is Toll Brothers, has also been a bit softer. Out west, all good. The only market we have a little bit of concern or caution is in Phoenix, where inventories are up a little bit. All right, let's change gears slightly here and talk about home prices. Some very big changes, especially when looking at these different metros. So here's the 50 biggest metros. This is sorted by the biggest year-over-year increase, right? So San Jose, California, just south of San Francisco, is the biggest gain, up by a staggering 8.1%. That is staggering because the average home price in San Jose is over $1 million, up by 8.1. Then we have areas in the Northeast and the Midwest that are falling after that. But look at the bottom list. Let's actually look at the US as a whole. US as a whole, we're up by 2.6% year over year. But the bottom list, the top 10 worst performers, actually 4 of them are Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, and Austin. Austin, Texas is the worst performer, where home prices are down by 3.4%. And then again, we have San Antonio down by 1.8%. Dallas is down by 0.7%, and Houston is up by 0.4%. But again, much lower than the gain overall nationwide, up by 2.6. Another way to visualize this, looking at home prices this January compared to January of 2024, you can see much of the Midwest and the Northeast are experiencing big gains, as well as parts of California as well. In contrast, in the South, that is the biggest declines. So for example, Punta Gorda, Florida, down 8.2%, Cape Coral, Florida, and of course, these markets have a big increase of inventory from 2019. Austin is down by 3.4, but have a look at the 5-year chart though. So the 5-year chart, even though they're down, 9.4% compared to 2 years ago and down by 13.3% from 3 years ago, the 5-year change up by 35%. I mean, home prices absolutely skyrocketed in 2020 then. In Dallas, again, they're down by 0.7%, but they're up by 6.3% compared to 3 years ago and up by 42.3% from 5 years ago. Houston is up by 35.9% from 5 years ago. In contrast, in the San Antonio market, it's down by 1.8% from 12 months ago, down 5% from 2 years ago, but still up by nearly 31% from about 5 years ago. With that said, if you guys want a real estate agent referral, then check out my website, which is realestateteamfinder.com. And of course, if you guys got any value out of today's video, then please hit the like button. Also consider subscribing as well. I do my best to post unbiased, frequent housing market updates so you guys can be more informed. With that said, I appreciate you guys so much for watching today's video, and we'll see you on the next one.